For as long as we've looked up at the sky, we've seen Saturn as this peaceful golden jewel of the solar system, just floating out there in the dark. But what if I told you that beautiful image is a complete and utter illusion? Today, we're going to peel back that serene facade to show you the violent, chaotic reality of Saturn.
Yeah, that quote, it absolutely hits the nail on the head because the breathtaking beauty you see from millions of miles away, well, it's a mask. It's a trap, hiding a world of unbelievable violence. All right, so let's just start by shattering our most basic ideas about Saturn. We think of space as silent. We think of Saturn as a perfect sphere. Turns out, both of those are completely wrong. You know that spooky, eerie sound you sometimes hear in space documentaries when they show Saturn? That's not just a Hollywood sound effect. That's real. Those are the actual radio emissions coming from the planet. So imagine this giant screaming into the cold, empty void. That's the real soundtrack of Saturn. And its shape? Oh, it's not some perfect marble in the sky. Not even close. Saturn spins so ridiculously fast, a day there is just a little over 10 hours long, that it literally flings its own guts outward at the equator. It bulges in the middle and gets squashed at the poles. It's distorted itself into the shape of a giant pumpkin, hurtling through space. Okay, let's talk about its most famous feature, those beautiful rings. We see this serene, almost angelic halo. The reality? It's a high-speed demolition derby, a cosmic grinder. First off, those rings are not solid. They're a chaotic blizzard of ice and rock shrapnel. We're talking everything from tiny little grains to chunks the size of mountains, all whipping around the planet at thousands of kilometers an hour. Flying through that would be like trying to navigate a blender made of ice blades. So you have to ask, right? Where did all this cosmic shrapnel come from? Well, the answer lies at a cosmic murder scene, and the weapon was gravity itself. The key thing you need to know is something called the Roche limit. It's basically a gravitational kill zone, a point of no return. And that brings us to the brutal origin story. The leading theory is that a long time ago, one of Saturn's own moons wandered too close. It crossed that Roche limit, and Saturn's immense gravity just grabbed it and tore it to shreds. So what we're seeing isn't planetary jewelry. It's a graveyard, the scattered guts of a dead moon. Now, this violence isn't just surrounding the planet. It's happening deep inside its atmosphere. Because at Saturn's North Pole, there is something that, well, it seems like it just shouldn't exist. It defies the laws of nature. I mean, think about it for a second. In fluid dynamics, the way gases and liquids move, you get swirls, you get spirals, and you get circles. What you don't get, what you shouldn't get, are perfect, straight-sided geometric shapes. It just doesn't happen. And yet, there it is. Staring back at us from Saturn's North Pole is a perfect hexagon. A six-sided storm that has been raging for who knows how long. Decades, maybe even centuries. It's an atmospheric impossibility, a geometric scar that just won't heal. And to really get a sense of its terrifying scale, get this. This isn't just some storm. It's a hurricane so massive, you could fit 4 entire planet Earths inside of it. And right in the middle, there's a monstrous vortex spinning like a giant, unblinking eye. And as if that geometric nightmare wasn't enough, there's more. About every 30 years, this monster storm system called the Great White Spot just erupts. It gets so huge, it wraps around the entire planet, and it unleashes lightning bolts that are 10,000 times more powerful than anything we've ever seen on Earth. Okay, so let's pull back from Saturn itself for a minute, because the story gets just as strange, just as dramatic when you look at its moons. And we're going to focus on 2 very different, very fascinating worlds. First up, you've got Titan. And at first glance, it looks startlingly familiar. It's the only moon in our whole solar system that has a thick atmosphere. It's got rivers, lakes, even rain. But this is a twisted, toxic version of Earth, a chemical nightmare. When you compare it to Earth, you see just how alien it is. Here, we have a water cycle. On Titan, it's a methane cycle. The rivers and lakes are filled with liquid natural gas. Its bedrock is water ice frozen harder than granite. And the vast sand dunes? They're not sand. They're made of grains that are basically plastic. And then you have Enceladus, a tiny, bright white ball of ice. For years, we figured it was just a boring frozen rock. And then we saw them. The tiger stripes, these long blue cracks at its south pole, just bleeding, bleeding giant geysers of water vapor hundreds of kilometers out into space.
And this is where the entire story pivots. It goes from cosmic horror to this incredible glimmer of hope, because those geysers, they prove that underneath all that ice, Enceladus is hiding a global ocean of warm, salty, liquid water full of organic molecules. So you have to wonder, down there, in that deep, dark, hidden ocean, could there be life?
Now, learning all of these incredible secrets, it required a messenger. And the story of that messenger, the Cassini spacecraft, ends with the ultimate sacrifice. For 13 years, Cassini was our eyes and ears out there, completely revolutionizing what we knew. It mapped methane seas, it flew through those icy plumes, it gave us our best look at the hexagon. But it was running out of fuel. And to protect these pristine worlds, especially in the Enceladus, from any of our earthly germs, NASA gave it one last command: dive into Saturn, a suicide mission. In its final moments, it was fighting, struggling to keep its antenna pointed at Earth, transmitting data until the very end. But the atmosphere was just relentless. It tore our little robotic explorer apart, melted it, vaporized it, until it became one with the giant it had unveiled for all of us. And from that final sacrificial data, we got one last stunning revelation. Saturn's rings, the most iconic feature of any planet, are dying. Gravity is literally pulling them down onto the planet as something they call ring rain. And in about 100 million years, which in cosmic terms is just a blink of an eye, they'll be gone. Vanished completely. We are lucky enough to be alive during the short time this temporary masterpiece of gravity and violence exists. So, if the most beautiful, seemingly serene object in our night sky is actually a screaming, chaotic world wearing a graveyard as a crown, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other beautiful truths out there are we completely wrong about?